you have an unlimited supply of guides and they have functions. So I always tell people, well, when you have a problem at the house and you need a plumber, are you going to call the architect to look at the design or are you going to call the plumber? You're going to call the plumber.
Yeah.
So we put that SOS out there. I need help. I need help with this. And once we put that invitation out, the guide can go, oh, I'm the one with the skills. I'll help you.
Hi, everyone. I am Julie Edmonds, your host of Channeled, tapping into the wisdom of your soul. Hi, and welcome to Channeled, tapping into the wisdom of your soul. And I have the honor today to have our guest, Lola Singer. She's an intuitive artist and a tarot reader whose work helps people reconnect with their own inner wisdom through spirit guide portraits and intuitive readings, which I can't wait to hear more about. Known for her blend of warmth, insight, and grounded mysticism, Lola brings a refreshing, authentic approach to modern spirituality. She also hosts Welcome to Woo Wooville podcast. It's the next stop in your spiritual journey. Welcome, Lola.
Hi, thanks for letting me be here.
Oh, you're absolutely welcome. I'm so happy to have you. So, I'd love to just get started. Tell me a little bit about yourself and what you're doing in life and how'd you get there? And let's just start from there.
Okay, well, fortunately now I'm a much more balanced person than I've ever been in my whole life. But that was not through an easy process. And that's why I love the podcast we do with my co-host, Welcome to Woo Wooville, because it's to let people know what it's like to be on the spiritual journey and that it has its ups and downs and ups and downs. And it's the stuff we wished we knew earlier on. So we're just sharing what we learned, sometimes the hard way, sometimes the easy way.
Oh, well, that's great. Both ways are great. Both ways.
They're all lessons, aren't they?
Yeah.
And as you go on this spiritual journey, you start to realize that mastery is balance. Balance. It's just trying to stay in the middle and not get too drawn out one direction or the other, which we no normally do. I call that wobbling. We all wobble from time to time. Like we have like a good day emotionally and a bad day emotionally, and then we just learn how to get ourselves back in balance. But anyway, I was not a balanced person about 10 years ago. Far from it. So I guess what I wanted to share with people is if I could come from where I started at and now I'm living the woo-woo life and doing tarot readings that help change people's lives and connecting them to their spirit guides, coming from a background where I thought this stuff was all nonsense, then you can do it too. So my journey, I guess you could say it started maybe about 15 years ago. And I was doing a job that was, well, I think you can relate to this. I was a phone counselor to help people quit smoking. So I loved when I could really connect with people and help them. But I was in an environment where we got sold to a corporation, and that kind of attitude kind of collapsed. It was more about numbers and, get the call done in this amount of time, no matter what. And I defied that. It's like, I'm going to help people. I don't care how long it takes. So I've never had that attitude of um, do it just because the boss says so. I'm a little bit of a rebel. I'm a Gemini. I'm an artist. We don't we don't play the corporate game very well.
Comes with the territory there.
So as you can imagine, I was not very happy once I felt like I couldn't help people anymore, the way that I wanted to. And then we got sold to a second corporation. I thought, well, it can't get worse than this. I think you can fill in the blanks there. I won't even go down that road. So while I was going through all of this dissatisfaction with my job, I was also becoming very dissatisfied with the world because I had started to go deep, deep, deep into conspiracy theories. So I was learning about all of these secrets, and it just felt like the further I went down these rabbit holes, yes, it's good to be aware, and I still think it's good to be aware, but you have to stay balanced, like I talked about earlier. But I wasn't balanced. I went into total imbalance. I went into total paranoia. As a matter
Mm.
of fact, at the job that I was just telling you about, It was in these big corporate offices in Seattle, and we had temporary desks, but everybody had a little tote. So you'd grab your tote with your equipment in it, and then you'd go pick a desk for the day. And one of the people had on their tote an all-seeing eye. And every time I passed that tote with the sticker with the all-seeing eye in it, I shuddered. I cringed. And one day I realized, you are letting a symbol control you, Lola. I go, that's something's wrong with that picture. And that's when I started to kind of search for something. There's got to be something more than this. There has to be more than this deep paranoia that I had fallen into, this deep dissatisfaction with my 3D job. And fortunately, I was so lucky. I actually had one person at work who was very spiritual. And I started thinking, well, I'm going to be, more like him. So every night after work, I'm going to go home and I am going to meditate. And I could talk to him about my experiences, which was great. I had support from that one person. And as I was meditating and I'd made that commitment to do it every night, I was really starting to feel that push to do it. Like it was really weird because I would get to the door and try to open my key, and it was almost like hidden hands were pushing me. Go in and meditate, go, go. And I'd be like, I had to get the key turned.
Wow. No,
Um,
that's interesting though. I think maybe just your divine spirit's like pushing you towards this. It's good.
yes, because I mean, because when you start meditating, you feel the changes in your body. I mean, it's a spiritual, mental, emotional shift, but it's also a chemical shift, right?
Well, it's scientifically proven. Everything about meditating is scientifically proven to tap into the other sides of your brain and reset your nervous system and all of the stuff, all of the goods,
Yeah.
all the goodies.
And the breathing, people just still don't believe it about the breathing. And it's just so simple. If we can control our breathing, we can change everything in our system too. So anyway, that's what I was doing, breathing and meditating every night. And as I started to get more relaxed into it, I noticed I was making sounds, and they were humming sounds at first, but when I was humming, I could feel the effects in my body. It was like, oh, I can feel, this part of my body lifting. I feel this part, I feel great afterwards. And actually, as you probably know, there's a book called The Humming Effect that tells us how good the humming is for our bodies, even 5 minutes of humming a day. So that's what I was doing. And then eventually consonants started coming out of my mouth. And I started singing in language I didn't recognize, but it felt really good. So I kept going with it. I go, huh, I must be doing this meditation thing right. And
That's
I
great.
didn't know what it was at the time because this is like 15 years ago, but I finally found out it was light language. So that was my first gift to open up after I had made that commitment to myself to tap back into my spirituality after having gone so far adrift into dissatisfaction and paranoia.
That's crazy, story. And I feel like a lot of people can relate to those types of things, especially with the news today and the overreaction, and everything that's going on, regardless of, where you fall on the spectrum. I think you said you look at it as wobbling. I always look at it as the pendulum swinging one way, pendulum swinging that way, and it's like we forget one thing and we focus on that. And, the balance is key. I love that you said that message, and of course, the humming, you're stimulating the vagus nerve system and all of this other stuff. But, we're talking about, this channel is called Tapping into the Wisdom of Your Soul. That you had some kind of divine language that was just waiting for you to remember.
Oh, yes, and the movements too, because part of language is some people dance light language, some people have these mudras, these intricate little dances with their hands. And I would watch my hand do one thing and it would move and move and move, and then the other hand would do the exact same thing. Now, if I consciously tried to do that, I couldn't. I
I
could
have a
not
question for you.
copy that, but
Is
I was doing it. Yeah.
if we told you you were going to do that, like let's back up at that moment, let's back up 5 months, 5 years, 2 years, whatever, when you were deep down that rabbit hole of conspiracy theory, vibrating every panic, thing in your body, every fear vibration. And someone told you a little bit of meditation will tap into some centers of you, and all of a sudden would you have believed them?
Oh no, I would have told them you're crazy and we're all going to go into this apocalyptic hell.
Yeah,
It's just a matter of time.
right,
That's what I would have said.
right. And so a little bit of meditation, a little bit of deep breathing that went into a consistent meditation practice actually slowed your nervous system down, opened up your mind for this divine wisdom that was already there. And it sounds like you tapped into some frequency of like calm.
Very much so, yes. And it's interesting because I knew it was divine because when it first started too, I could just feel like this tiny little touching my face. And it felt,
Oh,
and I don't, even though I was still kind of tied into the conspiracy stuff, is go, well, this has got to be like an angelic thing. It's just so soft. So it was a very much a paradigm shift for me. Um,
and
and
then
I
what
just wanted to let
happens?
know if I could do that, other people can too. They can shift their perceptions by deciding to choose themselves and what's better for them.
100%. That is such a great message. So Lola, so where do we go from there? So you're doing these tarot readings and
Well, not yet, not yet.
okay.
I was lucky because I lived in a major city at the time, Seattle, and there was a spiritual center that was not too far away from me. And they had at night they would have speakers and classes, and on the weekends every like once a month psychic fairs. And so I started going to their meetups, but it was really weird because light language is so common now. And it's great. A lot of people are waking up to that. But I was one of the first people. So I went to these meetups and there were like 50 people and they'd introduce themselves, who they were and what they do. And I was just amazed because they were these professional psychics and energy healers. And then they get to me and go, well, I speak in a language that feels good in my body. I didn't know what light language was at the time. I was trying to get the answers. And nobody else did what I did.
That is so tough. It's tough to be a pioneer in your field. And, we're not trying to convince anyone. You're just speaking your truth, your authentic truth. And it's tough to be a pioneer. And so wonderful. So go on.
Yeah, well, fortunately, because I was going to those classes regularly, one of the people who owned the center kind of took me under her wing. And she's one of those catalytic people, kind of push, I see your potential, so I'm going to push you, I'm going to poke you.
Uh-huh.
So I was scared. I was so scared, but she had me come in and sing in front of some professional psychics after they had had an event. So I was at the end, and they sat in a circle and they listened to me, and they each gave me their feedback about what they experienced, and it was just beautiful. Well, at that spiritual center, there was a person there who took me under her wing and had me sing in front of some psychics after they had done an event. I stayed late and sang in front of them with nobody else around, just the psychics. And I was scared. I didn't know what they were going to say, but they felt the energy. They saw, white light going around the circle. One of them saw a woman in whites in my lap. So it was like, there must be something to this. And so that's actually how I met my tarot teacher. He was a guest speaker at a later date at that particular venue. And honestly, I didn't really care for him at first.
Oh,
Because he's just like one of those people who talks, and you don't get a breath in.
yeah.
But I decided one day to go visit the center when they were having a psychic fair because he reads auras, and I was like, I want to get my aura read. And so I was working. It's a Saturday, but I rushed to get there before the fair closes. And I walk in the door, and there are two people there and no tables. And I walk in and go, I came for a aura reading. And he just started laughing because he said, I was told by spirit I had to stay. I guess it was for you. So once again, divine timing. Everyone had left because it was one of the first sunny Saturdays in Seattle. So it was slow at the fair. They closed it down early. He stayed because he was told to stay. And now I've been learning from this man who's a metaphysical teacher. He's been studying those for over 40 years. He's in his 70s now. And I've been studying with him for about 14 years now.
Wow.
Yes. And the other thing I wanted to tell you is because it was still early in my journey when I was still straddling conspiracy theories and moving forward. And when he did my aura reading, he draws the picture. It wasn't till, no, I've been working with him for 14 years. It wasn't till last month he told me that first time you came for an aura reading, you were almost dead.
Wow.
He said, I saw your aura, you were ready to just leave. I had given up on life that much.
So why do you think that is? Do you think it's because, he's saying your aura was so probably constricted,
Mhm.
tight? just in panic mode, that felt like your energy was almost dead. Your energy was almost dead because of your mindset,
Because it was a toxic mindset.
and a very toxic mindset from your words.
Yeah.
So, interestingly enough, that if we can stress ourselves out so much by our brain that it causes practically slow death, we can also use our brain to heal ourselves.
Yes, which probably explains the divine intervention, doesn't it?
Yes.
Like she's almost dead. Maybe I made a decision on the astral plane and we want to stay around. So the only way to stay around is for you to lift your vibes.
Wow. Wow.
About, I guess it's been about 10 years ago, I started doing tarot readings professionally because I kept working with that tarot teacher who really saw my potential and I think wanted to get me out of, that
Yeah.
life or death situation. And he's, one of those good teachers, good teacher points you in a direction but doesn't give you all the answers, right? So that's what I
Yeah.
like about tarot. Tarot is one of the best ways to learn about yourself. It shows you everything in pictures. The cards tie into astrology, numerology, ancient Kabbalah. There's a system to tarot. It's different than oracle cards. Oracle cards can be as many cards as you want with any sayings you want on them. This is metaphysics. This is esoterics. This is what people studied who were scientists in their day.
Yeah.
And what we're looking for as a tarot reader is the patterns. So we're looking at elements of earth and alchemy. We're looking at, how, is there a lot of Saturn in this reading? Is there a lot of Aquarius in this reading? Is there a lot of fire in this reading? What we're trying to do is see the story and tell the story.
Well, let's stop right there just for a second and back up, because you're saying, about the ancients, that, people that have always studied these things, and, like, there's some conservative and evangelical Christians that'll label tarot as witchcraft or whatever. You're seeking knowledge through spirits, and reality is it's just self-reflection, intuition, and psychology. And I love that you said that. And then you're looking for these patterns that are actually telling a story.
Yes, yes, and it'll tell us a story about, hey, am I doing well right now, or is there something I need to re-examine here? And so I use it as a tool for self-knowledge all the time, and that's how I like to use it for helping other people too. Give
Wow.
them a snapshot of what's going on. And I always say what's likely to happen if you keep going the way you are. And tarot does not predict the future. It shows you what's likely to happen. You've already set the trajectory. If you like what you see, great. You can, that's what I tell people, sit back and relax, enjoy the ride. If you see something you don't like, well, you weren't aware of it before. Here's where we get into the psychology. That was in your subconscious. We just shone a light on it. Now you're aware of it. Now you can make a change. So the example I always like to is pick is five of discs or pentacles, which is disappointment in my deck. If you get disappointment in your future, well, once you know it's showing up, then you go, well, the only way to get disappointed is have expectations. I'll need to watch what my expectations are in the future. I may need to shift my expectations to avoid disappointment. Great tool. It's a great tool for working with you. That's why I'm surprised. Some tarot readers are taught not to read for themselves. It's like, oh, really? I learned so much about me doing
Yeah,
tarot
no, I think
reading.
so too. Like, it's just a matter of when people go, I read my horoscope and it was exactly what I needed to hear. Well, they're hearing what they need to hear. So they can interpret that message in a way that that's speaking towards their healing soul. And so again, it's like what you said, a great therapist leads you to a place, but they don't tell you what you need, because the whole truth is you uncovering.
Yes,
And when you
and
tell
you
yourself the
know,
self-awareness, the uncovering of your own self, is when you believe it. Because someone
and you
tells you
know
it.
from your work when you see people have that aha moment, don't you? When it
Hmm.
all clicks in and they go,
Because
oh,
their mind, their soul, their body, their heart, their gut was in cohesive alignment, and it was like oh, duh. But if
and
you
I
try to
tell you,
tell them, it's like mother, mom, somebody tried to tell me, like, that's not true. Don't tell me that. Don't tell me what to do. So
it
you're so
helps to
this
show
is
them
so
the
great.
picture and show them the story of what you're seeing.
Totally. Um, so so how long have you been practicing tarot?
I started about 15 years ago with that particular mentor, the one who does the aura readings and teaches tarot. And I've never stopped. I've gone every Wednesday, with the exception, I think I'm on a couple of trips in Europe where the time zone was too messed up. I have gone every Wednesday. People know, don't even invite Lola to a dinner on Wednesday. She's going to be with her tarot group. But that's
That's
because you can
awesome.
go deeper and deeper and deeper into esoterics, which I love, so
Well, tell us some more things that you went deeper into the esoterics.
well, some of them are hard to explain without the tarot cards in front of you,
Right.
but it's basically learning alchemy, and turning lead into gold. And lead is associated with, it's the metal associated with Earth and Saturn, restriction, and gold is the sun and expansion. And you start to realize, those things that they were trying to do physically are actually just us turning ourselves into gold.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
the in Kabbalah, perfect balance and harmony is represented by the sun, the golden sun, and that's the blend of masculine and feminine working in perfect harmony as well. So that's what we're trying to do. That's why I said mastery's balance at the beginning of this. It's not saying, oh, well, the patriarch sucks, so I'm going to go totally matriarchal. It's no, so wait a minute. I understand why, as you talked about the pendulum swing, why that swung so far this way. Yes, it's toxic now, but if we swing it the other direction, do we want to go too far the other way again? Because we did that thousands and thousands of years ago when women were imprisoning men and treating them like slaves. Or do we want the child of the masculine, feminine, the perfect balance? And in Egyptian iconography, which is what my tarot decks are based on, that would be Isis and Osiris. And when Osiris is reborn as the child, he's the blend of both of them, Horus.
Wow.
So they call it the age of Horus. You can call it the age of Aquarius, because that's what we're entering as well. You can call it the new age, what golden age, whatever you want to call it. Funny they call it golden age, isn't it?
I love all Egyptian things too, by the way.
Yes. So, but that goes with everything. So one of the things you learn in Kabbalah is that there's a famous diagram called the Tree of Life in Kabbalah, but basically it's three pillars. Middle pillar is what I'm talking about, trying to stay as balanced as you can. The other, one pillar is called severity, and the other one is called um, mercy. Okay. So talk about the wobble or the pendulum swing. If we're being too merciful to ourselves, like maybe we're laying back and we're chilling and we've been doing it for days and days and days, eventually severity comes and kind of pokes us. You got things to do.
Yeah.
I'm poking you. You've got things. So severity comes in as the corrective. Now, if we're smart, we'll listen to that corrective right away and go, oh, okay, I caught that little hint. Yes, it's okay. Okay, my leisure time's over. It's time for me to buckle down. If we don't and we keep ignoring it, eventually severity becomes more severe. So it's like you get the rug pulled out under you.
Well,
So
yeah, that's
it's
like when
best to listen
the
early.
creator comes tapping on your head, God, the universe, or however you call it, will like smack you. Come on, we need you to listen up. And that's just basically staying in your divine flow. I agree with that. So let's shift gears, Lola, for just a minute. I would love to hear you do portraits, like spirit guide portraits. So how does that work?
It's all intuitive. It's totally intuitive. I used to get spirit guide drawings from one of the talented people in Seattle, and I just thought she was amazing. She's a professional artist, but she would tune in and draw the guide and give you like a one sentence from the guide. And I always found that so fascinating because anything could show up. And
Right.
because I was doing fairs reading tarot, I was around her a lot. So it's like, ooh, can I get another one this time? And I would ask my guides, they'd be no. And I'd go, okay, can I get one at this fair? Can I get another drawing? And be like, yes. So every time I got a yes, I would have Susan do a drawing for me. And they were anything from elves to galactics to like my father from a past life to being Lumerian, Native Americans, the girl next door that was like a best friend in a past life. I mean, I got to see so many of them because I just loved getting the drawings. And then after I had moved to where I'm living now, one morning I just decided, well, maybe I can do what Susan does for me. I read tarot for me. Why can't I try drawing the guides for me? So I started doing that, and then the guides would have light language codes on to kind of tie into their energy too. So I always was drawing light language with the image. And so I started doing that for myself, and then I started trying it out on friends, and the messages we were getting from the guides were hitting spot on. And
Wow.
I just kept going from there and started offering it to other people too.
I know you gave me a series of portraits when you emailed me, and I'd really love to be able to add them into the show notes somewhere. So we're going to figure that out. But I thought they were pretty fascinating. I love how you're just guided. It's almost like automatic writing. For me, I journal. I'm not much of an artist. So I don't know if you already had like an art background or there's something that you were just talented with. I'm good with stick figures, but you can still code into like your language with your, just it sounds like you're putting sacred geometry and the light language within there.
Absolutely, yeah. If it helps, if you can't figure out how to when you edit, I've got like little lookbook I could show a few like this if you want me to.
Yeah, you can do that now. I mean, some people will just be listening, so I'd love to, if you want to show
Right.
some visually, you can flash a couple across the screen right now. Maybe it'll inspire someone to click on our YouTube.
Okay, these are some of the spirit guides drawings I've done for other people. Oh,
Do they
let's see.
have names?
They do, but you know what? I tell the people at the time, and then to be honest with you, I'm a messenger, so I deliver the message. And then once the message has been given, I don't always remember. But this one I do remember. Her name, because
You
she
want to
called herself,
describe her if someone's listening?
well, she's like an elemental, but she called herself Snowball, which I thought was really strange. And then when I got together with the person to, because it was for someone online, so she booked a session. We talked about the guide. I did some energy healing based on the message of the guide as well. And it was so clear why her name was Snowball because the person wanted me to help her figure out how to lose weight. And all she could think about was what didn't work. And I had lost 60 pounds at that time. So I was like, okay, well, I can give you some spiritual advice, but I can also tell you what worked for me. So I told her about, how I'd fasted and things like that. Oh, no, I've tried this. I've tried that. I've tried that. That doesn't work. Can you see why she was snowball? Her message was everything you focus on snowballs.
Yeah.
And the
Wow,
person just
interesting.
didn't get it. And, it was just like, I couldn't, she never got the message, but I
Oh, yeah.
anyway, they show up in different ways. They can look modern, they can look ancient. I've had them show up like punk rockers or a guy who looks like in a 90s goth band.
And
I've
is
had,
that, and you feel like they show up in those ways because that's the way they're going to relate to the person that they're guiding?
yes, they're trying to show an image. It's energy trying to convey what I'm presenting and how I support you in an image. And then I also write any messages I get because I'm clairaudient too. And oh, and then you asked about my process. It's interesting because now this is
Well,
something
wait, for
people,
listeners that don't know what clairaudient is, clairaudient, can you explain that really quickly? And then I'd love to hear about your process.
yes, a clairaudience is when you get a sound, and oftentimes it's a word. So there might be a word I hear or a phrase, and I'll write that down. Or some guides are very talkative, some are not. Sometimes it's full sentences. I always ask for the name, and if it is a culture where we know we can't pronounce the name or we couldn't relate to it, so I'll ask for an English equivalent.
Oh, that's
Um,
great.
yeah, and then I also ask whether it's a temporary guide or a permanent guide because we have both working for us.
And how many guides? Is there a particular number? Because I know we're taught different places and things and people, that say certain things.
I don't want to knock how anybody's been trained or what they've been taught, but my understanding is there's a guide for every purpose. And that's why there's temporary ones as well as permanent. I can't tell people how many permanent guides they have. I don't think that's my job. But you have an unlimited supply of guides. and they have functions. So I always tell people, well, when you have a problem at the house and you need a plumber, are you going to call the architect to look at the design, or are you going to call the plumber? You're going to call the plumber.
Yeah.
So we put that SOS out there. I need help. I need help with this. And once we put that invitation out, the guide can go, oh, I'm the one with the skills. I'll help you. I'll
Yeah,
help you.
and that's just asking for help, asking for guidance, asking for spiritual support, and you can call on God and he sends all kinds of people. Or she,
Yes, yeah.
he,
And
she.
the way I see guides is there's a bouncer at a nightclub with a velvet rope, and all the guides are lined up behind that bouncer and they're waiting for you to call them. It's like they actually have rules that they uh,
Let's talk about that because you're
this
absolutely
is how
right. You
you
do
know
have
it's
to
a true
ask,
guide. Yeah, because a
have to
true guide
ask for
that
help.
they do not intervene unless you put something out there consciously or subconsciously that I need help with this. And
Yeah.
then I can see the bouncer allow them through. But it does help if you do it consciously. If you just say it out loud, invoke that guide. I need a guide to help me with this situation. I don't know what to do. And like I said, it could be a temporary one that comes and goes, I
And
can
do you have
help.
a practical practice that someone listening could utilize on a daily basis, or some, practices that you have every single day that you can call upon your guides for help, or just, protection or creativity, anything, everything.
Okay. Well, I think in the introduction you heard I like to be very straightforward and grounded. So I don't personally, you can use the loftiest, most poetic language that you like. But I just think you should be direct personally. I need help with this. I would appreciate help with this. I know you're there. I know you've got the skills to help me. I'm ready. I
Yeah.
don't I
And the
mean it's
next part is
fun.
just trust and receive.
And it's fun to set up an alternate ritual. I do that too, and if you want to be as poetic as possible, you can do that as well. Do whatever feels comfortable for you. I think my goal in this lifetime is to take what I've learned so far, all these esoterics and metaphysics, and make them approachable for people instead of, oh, I'm not worthy of doing this. So
Hmm.
I think, do I see nothing wrong with the direct method. I see nothing wrong with the let's make it very lofty and make a ritual out of it. It's really personal.
Yeah, and then in ritual is just, reminding your mind that repetition, our mind's learned by repetition, and then it becomes some type of muscle memory, and it becomes into your subconscious mind, and then it becomes who you are. And so then
And
you have the ability to just have, well, whatever protection, guidance, and just trust that the universe is a safe place and there are great things and joy and things that can happen. Someone told me once years ago when I was in a really, really bad spot that you can just feel joy without having to seek something. And I was like, oh, BS. That is just BS. And it was hard for me to believe. I just couldn't believe it. But then after all the healing practices and the meditation that I've done and the clearing of this the clutter and the junk and the trauma and reframing my mind and understanding that, there is a lot of help, unseen help. And it's scientifically proven, by the way. So we're not going to go into that for this episode, that they're just there and you just allow it. It's like, I just have this joy and peace in my heart on a daily basis. And now I look back at that poor person that I said no to, and I apologized in the universe because, like, you were right. It just couldn't see it at the time.
yeah, that's why our imagination is so powerful.
Yeah.
If you use it as a tool, like you're saying, it becomes one of the best tools in your tool belt. So yes, so repetition, having something to look at, which is why the spirit guide drawings are great for people. People ask, what should I do with that? I go, put it where you see it. Let's take a picture of it, make it your screensaver for a week. So every time you pull up your phone, you see your guide. Make a copy, put it by your coffee maker so you see your guide. Um, and just feel that comfort whenever you make eye contact with that guide.
Oh, that's so good. And then it just becomes kind of almost subliminal. Like you just don't know why you feel good, but then you realize, oh, I have a spirit guide looking at me right here on my coffee pot.
And I also recommend that people think about their guide before they go to sleep and make an intention, I'm going to meet this guide on the astral plane in my dreams while I'm sleeping tonight. And if it's a teacher, I'm going to learn from that teacher. If it's an ex-lover from another life, we're going to go on a date. I need to remember what it's like to be cherished. Um, if it is an angel, so what does this divine presence want to tell me? So I always recommend that too. And I tell people, you may not get the message right away, but what's really great about the dream state, it eventually does trickle down into your consciousness.
hmm And
Mhm.
Lola, how important it is to um, don't try to get the message you want, but listen to the message that you get.
Very important, especially when it's for self-improvement. And so that's why I said the guides have personalities. Some of them are, like a teacher guide is going to be, okay, you better toe the line now. These are the consequences if you don't make some changes. Whereas, some of them have a softer approach. So it's always good to listen. And I think any guide that's trying to show you how you can empower yourself is the best kind of guide. And sometimes that is a guide that takes you by the hand and says, "Are you ready to look at the wounds now?
Mm.
Are
Yeah, because
you
that's a
ready
scary
to
place to
heal?"
go at times. Very scary place to visit at times. Wonderful. Well, for people listening, and if they're just starting on their journey, what advice do you give them?
It's not all love and light. That's the advice I would give them. And if you go through periods where you're confused or you feel like I'm doing something wrong because I'm supposed to feel good all the time, you haven't done anything wrong. I think
Yeah.
I think that when you're early in the spiritual journey, you see these, like if you look at people's websites, it's a man or a woman dressed in white linen with their long hair flowing, and they're looking at the ocean and everything's perfect. It's like, that's not the spiritual journey. The spiritual journey is about self-awareness, self-empowerment, and healing. And
Healing.
so you're going to be looking at some things that hurt. You're going to have times where you look at what it was like to be a little girl or a little boy and how you were frightened. And now, as an adult, you look at that and you comfort that little girl or little boy. And you might cry, you might get mad. The little girl or little boy in your imagination may not want to cooperate with you right away. So you're going to have to keep being tender with it, with him or her. This is what true spirituality is. And once again, it's learning how to balance. It's not being afraid of the dark. It's not pushing the dark away. It's learning that the dark has a purpose. And when we shine a little light in the dark, that's that's the awareness of the subconscious we were talking about. Now we're consciously aware of it. We can work on it. We're adults. We can deal with it now. Let's do it.
Wow, beautiful answer. I'll just add to if you need to sleep with the little night lamp, that's okay too.
The light is good and the dark is useful. It kept you protected for a long time. So it has its purpose. So once you realize it has its purpose, it's less daunting.
Well, Lola, this has been a pleasure talking to you today. I could speak to you for hours on end, and I think our listeners love to hear more. Where can we find you?
The best way to reach me is I do have a website and it's super easy. It's just my name, www.lolasinger.com. You can find out how to get a spirit guide drawing. I can send those online. You can book a tarot reading if you're intrigued with that now. And just learn a little bit about me, see a few examples of my drawings as well.
Amazing. We'll put those all in the show notes. And thanks for anybody listening right now. If you like it, share it, subscribe, and come back for more. Thanks, Lola. It's been a pleasure having you.
Thank you.